Does anybody else
And
have any?
have you talked to everybody about the letters of interest? Because I know we talked about that, but I don't know if you've gone over that with these guys yet.
I
Oh,
definitely would like to. That was going to be a question I was going to ask.
sure. What you got, man?
So for psych, I've been seeing that people are totally back and forth whether or not they're going to send them or not. But I have seen people saying, "Oh, well, yeah, I sent one, and then immediately the program sent me an interview, like invite." But some people are saying, "Oh, my school advisors are saying it's too early." Some other people are like, "Oh, it's still early in the cycle. Don't do it yet." But kind of like you said before, you can't always take everything that people say on those forums as truth. So do you think that it's too early, or do you think that it's appropriate or ever? Let me rephrase it. Do you think it's ever inappropriate at this point to send a letter of interest?
I would say no, honestly. And so this is from personal experience. I probably got an extra 10 to 20% of interviews because of letters of interest. And so there was multiple programs where I literally, just like y'all were saying, I literally got an interview the next day after I sent that email. And obviously it's not going to work like that 9 times out of 10, but the 1% of time that it does work, if you apply to 200 places, that's an extra 2 to 4 interviews you got. You know what I mean? And so that right there gives you an extra 30% chance of matching in most specialties. And so not to say that that's the only way or that you have to send it, but I highly recommend it. And I would say right now, no time like the present to send it. If you're thinking about it, send it, because you're going to wish you would have. If you delay it for a month and then programs are like, oh, we're already full of all interview days, then you're going to be like, well, why didn't I send it? So I'd say right now is perfectly fine. We're mid-October, nothing wrong with sending it. You can send it now or towards the end of the month, but I wouldn't wait a whole lot later to at least voice your interest. And for your letters of interest, they don't have to be like anything extensive or a massive, like page-long email to the program. You can literally send an email to the program coordinator and be like, hey, I'm super interested in this program. XYZ are the reasons. I would love the opportunity to get to meet the team. Blah, 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 signed, your name. That's it. And so if you don't hear back from them, give it 7 to 10 days and then send it a follow-up to the program director. But I would email the program coordinator first, so you're not blowing up the program director right off the bat. And they may not even get it because they might just have hundreds and hundreds of emails that they just don't even read, which is fine. So then you just send it to the program director. You can get both of their email addresses off of Freida, Freida, for anybody that hasn't used it. It's a free online database that has everybody's contact info.
Awesome. I have one more question, then I'll hop off. This one's kind of a personal question in terms of my own situation. So right now for psych, I have one interview and I'm still trying to track to see which places are sending things in waves. And I just kind of wanted to see what your perspective was, is like, when should you be worried of not getting enough interviews? And I know that that might not be a specific enough question, or you might not be able to speak on it because you didn't do psych, but do you think that it's too early to be worrying about that kind of a thing?
Yeah, I wouldn't let that stress you out yet. A lot of programs, like for us, we haven't even issued a single interview yet. And so a lot of programs that don't have a set date, like some specialties have a set date where all the interviews go out. For the other specialties, then don't worry about it. Like
Okay,
you just got to go with the flow and send out your letters of interest. You don't gain anything by worrying about it anyways. So
that's fair. Okay, cool. All right. Appreciate it. All right. I'm going to
absolutely,
sign
man.
off. Thanks for everything.
Yeah, thank you for joining, bro. Anybody else have any questions? Stick around for a little bit longer.
Another question, but do you think that investing in a little camera with a little light that some people use for interviews, they say it's a way of presenting yourself better since it's just something to set you apart. Do you think it's worth investing in something like that other than using like a camera off your Mac and the mic on your computer?
Hey, I got one. I actually spent the money on the best one. I did all the research and it was like a Lumina something 4K. I got it for, I don't know. It was a couple $100 and I got the light per Austin's kind of guidance here. So I'm testing it out and I can give you some feedback if you want to know. But
Yeah,
yeah,
please.
because I'm using like a $50 webcam off of Amazon right now, even though it's 4K. I'm noticing a delay and all kinds of stuff. But these other ones definitely have like a lot more capability. So it's worth a flyer. I'm going to say that. I'm testing it. If you want feedback, I can give you my email and I'll tell you what I think. But I'm literally going to be testing it in the next couple of days. And Austin and I have a mock set up next week. So we're going to be going through it. So I'm happy to give you feedback on what I find. But I have noticed from doing this, because Zoom interviews suck. They just suck, period, for everybody. And like I've noticed, the better stuff you have, it does make a difference. And the one thing Austin said was a big deal was lighting. Like I'm sitting in my office and I have great lighting, but if I do this at home, not so much, you know? So depending upon where you're going to interview from, making sure your lighting and making sure that your delay and your internet connection's good and all that stuff, it's everything to have a quality Zoom experience.
Yeah,
Just my
definitely. I highly recommend to piggyback off of that you at least set up a mock Zoom session to like have everything set up the day before or 2 days before, whether it's with me or with a friend or family member, whoever it is. Just set up like a 10-minute time period where you can just like make sure all your tech works the day before so that you're not scrambling, you're not trying to figure stuff out on game day 10 minutes beforehand. Just make sure that you at least have it set up prior to everything kind of going down. As for the lighting, definitely you just want something that shows you're in as natural light as possible, depending on which time zone you're in, where you're at. Like right now, your screen's pretty dark, Joe. So I would recommend having a brighter lighting situation. Obviously, I don't know what time your interviews will be, but they might be at 8 a.m. They might be at 6 p.m. Who knows? So definitely it's, if you can't rely on the natural lighting or the room lighting you have, then I would recommend getting some sort of a light. I don't have a light personally because I didn't do Zoom interviews, but I'm sure you can find one online that is not going to break the bank, that's decent.
Okay, good deal. Thanks.
It was like $20 on Prime Day. So it's not expensive for the light.
Yeah, I was going to order one to come in for the next couple of days. I figured it was worth it. I've never done a Zoom interview, so I figured I'd ask, but
Hey, baby, it's Amazon. It don't matter. You can send it back.
good point.
Just one more question from my end. I've been very fortunate, and like I've had like a dozen interview offers so far, and I'm starting to wonder, like, is there a point when you stop? Like, is there ever a reason to say no to interviews?
So number one, if you obviously can't fit it into your schedule, that's obvious. If that's the case and you haven't quite gotten the number of interviews that you want yet, you can actually, instead of just declining the interview because it doesn't fit on your availability, send an email to the program coordinator, say, hey, I'm super hyper interested in this program, would really love to come, but I already have committed to another obligation on the same day, same time. And so this shows, number one, that you're not going to go back on your other obligations, which is honestly a good character trait. But number two, it gives you the opportunity to reschedule for another day if possible. As for your question of when should you stop, go to the NRMP link that I have on the onboarding for school, and you can actually see what the actual amount of interviews you get based upon your percentage chance of matching. So for a lot of specialties, it'll be a curve that's like this, and then it will level out. So like, let's say that for physiatry, the curve levels out at 15 interviews. Anything above that is kind of just like a mute point. So you probably have like a 95% chance of matching at 15. So whether you get 15 or 20, it might give you an extra 2% chance of matching. So you have to just decide if that's actually worth it for you. But I recommend highly to make that decision based off of the data. There's no one specific number for every specialty combined. You have to look at the data for your specific specialty. So for like, there's some specialties where you reach the 90th percentile chance of matching with like 10 interviews. And then other specialties where, like, for example, maybe like derm or something like that, like you might not even reach 90% chance of matching with 20 interviews. And so it's going to be different for every specialty.
Awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely, man. Good questions, guys. Does anybody else have any questions? This has been a fun start to my night off. Randomly, I got Wednesday off this week since I'm working like every single weekend. They're like, you can have a Wednesday. I'm like, okay, perfect. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for coming. We have another live session next Wednesday. Let me see what time it is. It is Wednesday the 25th. It'll be at 8 p.m. Central Time. So that's 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll do just like a live Q&A. We can discuss whatever you guys have questions about. It doesn't have to be interview specific, but it can be if you want. Just let me know what you guys want to discuss if anybody wants to hop on. And if not, cool. It's just there if you want it. So,
Dr. Price, can I ask a question that's non-interview related?
Yeah, absolutely. Fire away.
Thank you. I wanted to just ask, so I'm getting ready to do my step one, and just so I did go through all of the modules of like what to prepare for a week out and a month out.
Yes.
And it's just like, so just to be clear, on the last week before, like a week out from your step one, I should just be reviewing and doing the chunks of first aid / my notes, but not doing questions.
That's what I recommend. So there's a thing called question fatigue. It's been studied enough times essentially that if you're burning the candle at both ends, meaning you're like just grinding crazy hard, you're doing like 160 questions a day, doing that up until the day of your test doesn't give you any time to actually rest and consolidate all the information. And so I highly, highly recommend going through first aid in about 125 page chunks the last 5 to 7 days prior to your exam. made a huge difference for me, because now you see all the stuff that you've never actually seen all in one sitting. Like you're going through the whole cardio chapter in one sitting, going through the whole GI chapter in one sitting. And so you're making connections amongst all the pathologies that you've seen all individually, but not all cohesively together. And so that's where you really make big jumps in your knowledge, because you're like, shoot, if I would have known that, then I wouldn't have missed the 4 questions I missed on this topic over and over and over again, because now I see how it all fits together. So like, for example, like you could see a question about failure to pass meconium, and in your head, you're like, okay, is that cystic fibrosis? Is that Hirschsprung's? Like, what could this be? But like, until you see the entire disease pathology for cystic fibrosis, and you're like, okay, well, they have inspissated meconium that gets stuck in their terminal ileus, causes microcolon of the rest of the intestines. Like, why would that happen? Well, it's because they have thick secretions. Well, why do they have thick secretions? You see what I'm saying? Like, you kind of like work backwards. Now that you've seen the question, now you're working backwards of why that this actually happens. And it's, instead of always working forwards like you do with questions, it gives you kind of the opportunity to put it all together. So that's exactly what I'd recommend doing.
Got you. And like I think there's a lot of anxiety obviously that happens the day before. So like I guess when you're sectioning out the first aid book in like sections to see how much you should study until. So my test is on a Monday. So like that Sunday, should I be like reviewing things? I'm a very anxious reviewer, so I will do it if like that's what I should do. But then I feel like it ends up making me feel super anxious and like drives my like anxiety even worse. So I'm not sure exactly like the last day, like how I should plan it out.
So
Question.
the last, go ahead.
I've got
Somebody
a
else
question.
speaking, I think.
Hey, yeah, me. Hey, Millie, are you doing the NBME questions as well?
Yeah, I am.
You are? Yeah, okay. Because like I know the way. And I'm someone who had difficulty in steps 1 and 2, but did really well in step 3. It was just, I had to see the entire feedback loop of the medications and everything for it to be like, oh, okay. Yeah. And that's just not the way med school's taught. But what my tutor did for step 3, because I had to go back and review step 2 and step 1 after 12 years out of medicine. Like, it was really fucking hard. Yeah. And what he did was, he used the NBME exams and the practice exam as a gate, like in the week up to it. And then based off of that, to Austin's point, like that's what he did. So for me, I bombed my step 3 practice test like a week before. So I was freaking out. And he was like, no, it happens. He had me go by the ACP internal medicine question bank and do, board questions. And I was scoring like 65%, which is enough to pass the internal medicine boards, having not looked at anything, right? Just with knowledge. And then after I put that down and went back and redid that, I did really, really well on the practice test, on the NBME. So like Austin has his way and he's mentored you in his way of doing it. There's multiple ways of doing it, but that was one thing that I learned that was a really good thing. And to his point is like, when you've gone through UWorld 2-3 times, by the time you get there, you've pretty much memorized all the questions. And so it's the ways that they'll trick you in asking the question that all the answers are in first aid. All of them are there. If you've memorized that book cover to cover for all the steps, like you'll do well. And doing that first is like a huge part of it. So
yeah,
this is just what I learned and I just wanted to share, but
No, thank you. I have been taking, since I finished my first pass of UWorld like 2-3 weeks ago, I've been taking NBMEs every week. So I've taken a lot of the 28 to 31 already. So I took 30 and then I took 26 and then I took the free 120 in the actual paramedic center. And then I took World Self-Assessment 1 yesterday, actually. And so it went well. I got 67%, which I'm like, obviously I wish I'd got a little bit higher, but honestly, it was a hard test. Like the questions were a little bit different than what I had expected from the NBMEs, like just a little bit different in terms of like the level of detail into like the receptors and like mRNA. And I was like, whoa, like we're going into mRNA, like what's happening here? So I was actually happy with my score because I was like, I really hope I passed this, and I did. So I was happy in that. So I'm right now reviewing it, and I'm learning a lot from the review itself. So I'm happy. I have 2 other NBMEs I'm gonna do every Monday before my actual Monday of my exam. Hopefully they both go well. But yeah, so I guess so last day, like, should I be reviewing stuff last day? I mean, I will be probably reviewing some things, to be honest. There's no way I'm not, but
I mean, what he told me was take the day off and chill and just, it's all up there. I don't know, Austin, you.
Yeah, I think that that's probably not advice that any med student at all is going to stick to. Just having done this 2,000 times at this point, I would say give yourself free reign to study in the last day, but give yourself a strict cutoff time. And so nobody's going to just not study, period. So I would set an alarm on your phone the day before, come to peace with it, set out a schedule for yourself, what you're going to look at, and then be like, okay, at 2 p.m., I'm not looking at a single other thing. I'm going to watch this specific movie. I'm going to see this specific best friend. I'm going to talk with my parents on the phone. Like, have a literal itinerary written out for yourself. That way that you have like a cutoff that you're going to stick to.
And make sure when you're doing the mocks that you're doing it to get your timing and your speed and your stamina. Like, you have to build that up going up to it, because it's brutal. And like, when you get to step 3 and it's 2 days, it's brutal. It's brutal. Like,
Can you answer the same question for 12 days out for step 3 exam? Like, I have my step 3 in 12 days. So what do I revise in these days? Any last minute tips?
For step 3, the thing is with step 3 is it's so similar to step 2 in terms of the content and the metrics that you're tested by. I don't know if you've seen the kind of the crash course series or not, but I think honestly, those are probably the best things to go through is the potential crash course series. I'm actually working on a step 3 overview right now that's specific for step 3. And one of the things that I found is that there's very, very little that's asked on step 3 that's not asked or at least referenced in step 2 prep. And so you genuinely don't need anything that's specific for step 3. Step 2 is the content review for that is honestly the way to go as well.
Okay.
And make sure, there's like 10% or something of step 1 on there still. It's a small percent, but you got to get your biostats, right? That's a big, easy one. Make sure you do your cases and your case simulators.
Okay.
I can tell you, I missed one that I'll never fucking forget again. It was a non-STEMI that presented like GERD, and you have to put the EKG out in the first order set. If not, you'll run it. You get docked. And I know I would have gotten a much better score, and I screwed that one up. But you got to do that. And what Austin said was right. Like, I went back and memorized first aid 2 and first aid 3 to study for 3. But I had to. I did step 2. I reviewed it all. Did all the step 2 question bank before I even started step 3. But I was in a different position because I had been out of medicine for so long. But it made all the difference to Austin's point. Yeah, it's very redundant. And so sometimes doing the step 2 Q bank in unison, in my opinion, can be a good refresher, because you're going to see it, because it's diagnosis and then treatment. And the funny thing is, and I think that's what I really discovered after, coming back and working for so many years and under my mentor, was there's very few medicines we have to turn knobs and wheels, right? Like, there really isn't. There are classes of drugs, blood pressure, diabetes, whatever. There's some revolutionary ones out now, but typically in the past, we haven't had that. So as long as you kind of understand where it's going and what it's doing, it's much easier. But step 3 is a lot harder than it used to be. I mean, there's a lot of residents who fail step 3. And I was lucky. The guy that tutored me specialized in tutoring people who had failed steps. So he had a real system that he personalized to you based on your strengths and weaknesses. And then when you were getting questions wrong in the Q bank, he would review them with you. So if there's a concept you missed or you weren't getting, you would go back and reinforce that learning and kind of do that. So, you're close to where you're going. It just depends on where you're at, if you're a great test taker. But having your stamina, speed, and having reviewed all the stuff is a big thing. But make sure you do these cases, and make sure you do the practice tests. The NBMEs are critical for step 3, in my opinion, especially when, you're being asked a lot of these subject questions like surgery, OB, or something that you're not very familiar with, right? Depending upon what you're trying to go into.
Would you mind telling me which NBME should I do? Because I just have like 12 days out.
So there's the step 2 NBMEs. You could do all of those because it's all that content's going to be there. The step 3 NBMEs are also there. And so there's going to be the different ones for the different specialties. So there'll be one on OB, there'll be one on medicine, there'll be one on, I think, surgery. And then there is an NBME that is a mock step 3 that I would 100% do with.
Are you talking about the free one?
This was a few years ago for me, but it's on the NBME website. I think they charge us $30 for it or something. But this is all stuff that's on the NBME website that, like,
Okay, I'll take it.
Yeah, when we had to do step 1 and 2, they didn't give us answers for the NBMEs. So we spent half the time looking up the answers, then learning the material. So that really sucked, and that changed a couple of years ago. So make sure that, you look at that stuff without question. And there was another case simulator software I bought for like $50 or something that just allowed you to do more cases.
Oh, yes. I did practice.
Because it's easy to run out of the 20 cases they have on Fred or whatever. But that extra simulator, I think, was pretty worth it. And they grade you and they kind of tell you something. It's not perfect, but it's just more practice.
Yeah, I did those CCScases.com.
Yeah, I think that's what it was, CCScases.com.
Yeah,
but
I did
that.
Thank you.
It was helpful.
Okay.
All right, guys. Well, I'm going to call it a day here. Thank you all for joining. It was a pleasure, and hopefully this was a helpful interview hot seat session. We'll meet again next week.
Thank you.